I have had 6 concussions over the last several years of my life, ranging back to when I was a preteen in gymnastics to as recent as of 2 years ago. And if I'm being honest, I am really struggling right now, especially because my last concussion actually wiped out a ton of core memories from my life. Let me explain. My first 3 concussions were related to when I was an athlete in competitive gymnastics, either hitting my head or some other accident related to the sport. My 4th was because of a fight in high school, which I lost, but we don't really need to talk about that. My 5th was when I was a gymnastics coach and I actually had to catch an athlete. Thankfully, that kid ended up okay, but I took their knee directly to my head. For my 6th concussion, that was when I fell feet first down a set of stairs and unfortunately hit the back of my head on those stairs as I went down. Concussions are brutal, often more brutal than people even realize. And concussions also compound on one another, which makes minor ones really dangerous if you've had super severe ones early, or just a bunch of minor ones. It adds up over time. And with the worse that they are, or the more that you've had, the more and more it affects your day-to-day life. Tasks that used to be simple for me take so much more brain power now, often leading me to be tired, depressed, and very, very stressed. And at 28 years old, I don't function like someone else my age would. And I am really struggling with it mentally. And to make it worse, I'm kind of struggling with the fact that I'm struggling with it. It's why I actually wanted to make this video. It's definitely a bit different than a normal video. For example, I'm outside, which is very rare for me, but I feel that the best medicine in my life has been talking to people, whether that's friends, family, or I guess in this case, 70,000 faceless strangers on the internet. I'll probably never meet you, but hey, I still want to rant to you. But when I talk about it, it helps me process and get through it. It's actually a huge reason I was able to work through my schizophrenia. And I should mention, when I say working through my schizophrenia, I haven't gotten over it. And again, I'm gonna touch on that in just a little bit. So why don't we go back to the very beginning? Competitive gymnastics, which I did for 15 years of my life. I did every event that the men's could do, which was floor, pommel horse, rings, vault, parallel bars, and high bar. And those years were some of the best years in my life. I got to travel all over the country, and I even got to go to Japan for some competitions because my gymnastics coaches were Japanese. And so we got to go to some of their favorite gyms in Japan and train with their athletes. It was unbelievably cool. I was provincial champion, not once, but twice. I even got to be on Team BC when I competed at Nationals, which was in Ottawa some years, or other parts of Canada. And I also got to meet some big names in gymnastics, all the way up to Olympians, because 2 of my gymnastics coaches were Olympians. It was one of the best times in my life, and I loved it so much that as I transitioned out of being an athlete and into a coach, I proceeded to do that for another 9 years. But as you can imagine, with a sport that kind of looks like this, it is incredibly easy to get injured. And while a lot of my injuries were pretty minor, broken fingers, broken toes, a couple knee surgeries, the worst injuries were actually the concussions. Now, one of the effects that can come from concussions is memory loss. It's actually a huge reason why I don't remember the exact details surrounding each concussion. I guess that's not true. I actually, sorry, I do remember one actually when I was in gymnastics, and it was because I was a little kid and I walked under someone else on the rings as they were doing a big swing and they kind of clocked me in the head. I laugh because looking back at it, it's kind of funny, but in the moment, it was pretty brutal. But like I mentioned, as my body was getting damaged and aging, I had to look forward to the next part of my career, which was coaching. And those 9 years were by far some of the best years in my entire life. Whether it was helping a kid progress from 0 skill to being able to do backflips, or getting to see the smiles on their faces when they accomplished something that they had worked on for so long, it felt super fulfilling to be part of that journey. During my time coaching, I coached over 2,000 athletes, ranging from 18 months old all the way up to 70-year-olds. So that's people who are potentially starting a future career in gymnastics, or people that are near the end of their life that are just wanting to stay physical. It was so cool to see all of the different walks of life and experience that came with this wide range of people. Which is why this next part here feels pretty fitting to have my old gymnastics building in the background. It's that gray building way in the distance. That building is where I spent 20 years of my life. But the craziest part is everything I just told you, whether it was me being an athlete, my accomplishments as an athlete, my coaching, even seeing kids smile, I don't remember a damn thing. It's gonna sound kind of weird, but the only reason I was able to tell you any of that is because I dug through old Facebook photos, or I looked up gymnastics websites that had my old records of me being provincial champion, or I went back to even posts that I was tagged in by parents of the kids that I coached. In terms of anything directly involved in that building, I really don't remember any of it. The last concussion I had, it wasn't a big one. But like I mentioned before, how they kind of compound on top of each other, it was big enough that I lost a ton of core memories in my life. Prom, my first girlfriend, video games that I played growing up, and even my fucking birthday was just wiped from my memory. November 14th, 1997. That's my birthday. But the only way I'm able to tell you guys is because I had to relearn it. I don't subconsciously just remember that when people ask me. Do you know how fucking hard it is to stand in front of someone that asks you something that should be so natural to you and you just don't know it? It genuinely makes me feel like an idiot. Or it makes me feel like they think I'm scamming them because I'm trying to convince them that my birthday is this. But I genuinely just didn't know it for 2 years after my concussion. To make it even more complicated, there are times where I know that I should know it. It kind of feels like that SpongeBob meme where he's running around to all the filing cabinets trying to find the piece of information. I know it's in there somewhere, but I just cannot find it. It's so hard to describe, but it causes this weird feedback loop of confusion, frustration, and then ultimately disappointment in myself because I just feel not smart. Behind me in that building are 20 years of the greatest memories of my life. And I know that they are the greatest memories of my life. But I can't recall any of them. I don't get to tell you guys any of the cool stories that I know are in my head because I can't recall them. Instead, I get to sit here on the outside looking at those walls, wondering what happened between them. And I don't know if I'm ever gonna get them back. Concussions are actually just as interesting as they are damaging. If you have never had one before, you may have actually heard the term, it's kind of like a bruise on your brain. But what if I told you that's not actually true? Your brain doesn't really get a bruise, and diagnosing concussions is often almost more of a vibe check. Your doctor asking you a bunch of questions to figure out your symptoms, and then they gauge if you have a concussion and how severe it may be. Rarely do they ever do some sort of physical check, whether that is a scan through a CT scanner, an MRI machine, or even blood work. Usually they would only do that if they suspect that real physical damage has been done, like a fracture to your skull or internal bleeding. And it's why it can be really difficult to fully heal from a concussion. Because if you can't check for the damage, how can you check if it's been fixed? It kind of puts you in a weird spot. And I think that is a huge reason why I struggle with the fact that I'm struggling with this. I really like to find practical solutions to problems, or at least find a path that I can work towards. But with memory loss, I feel genuinely hopeless. I've tried different training apps and different tools in order to help practice and get better at remembering things, but I feel like it's not working. And I've even tried talking to a therapist about this because, like I mentioned earlier, I feel that talking with people can really help me get through difficult times. But this is where my second major issue comes in. I can't communicate anymore. The only reason I might be sounding somewhat decent right now is because I have the script just below this camera that I am constantly looking at. I wrote down my thoughts and I rewrote it over and over and over again to make sure that I could get my point across. But if you are a regular in my Twitch streams, you guys know that I struggle with communication. Dude, we are, this is, we, I don't know what to say. Someone asks something in my chat, I attempt to read it out loud, to which I stumble over the words, or I slur them all together, or I have to restart their entire question because I can't read it properly. And then responding to it is a whole other issue. I will often pause between words because my brain can't keep up with it, or people ask me to repeat myself because I was stumbling over the words. And then, whether people tell me this or not, I know that I'm being a burden. It's really difficult to talk to me, and I turn what should be a one-sentence response into a whole paragraph. Which goes back to the point I made earlier about how I feel stupid. Whether I am is not the point of this. It's how I feel. I feel like an embarrassment to go out with, and it's why lately I've actually been pulling back from messaging friends and hanging out with people. Instead, I've just decided to focus harder and harder on content creation because I feel like that's the one area that I can. When I'm on the internet and I embarrass myself, that's one thing. But when I'm out and about with my friends, or worse, my best friend, my wife, and I embarrass us, that's another. In the last 2 months alone, I have canceled more than a dozen outings, sometimes last minute, because I honestly can't bear the thought of being the issue friend in the group. Even if I'm not, it's weird to explain. And those 2 points that I just brought up aren't even the hardest ones that I have to deal with. It's the fact that after being in a much better spot for several years in my life, my last concussion actually has reintroduced some really bad schizophrenic episodes. For those who don't know, I actually briefly talked about this in my very first YouTube video on this channel. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia about 9 years ago. Mainly 2 types, hebephrenic and senesthopathic. Hebephrenic is categorized as disorganized schizophrenia. It often affects things like speech, facial reactions, and disorganized thinking. And now you see why my speech patterns that I mentioned earlier are even harder now. It's like the concussions took the speech things that I was struggling with and dialed it up to 11. Senesthopathic schizophrenia is actually pretty unusual, but it's often described as someone who is hyper aware of their body, to the point where it actually kind of goes overboard into unrealistic. Like, I am very aware if I feel a burning sensation, but it's to the point where my whole body will feel like it's burning, not just the area that might be actually affected. And then it sends me into a weird panic attack because I literally think my body's on fire. That's just one example. Another one that actually happened on camera was when I was working on the flooring stream and I started to feel nervous about doing a certain cut. Okay. Cool. Whew, sorry, I actually did kind of have like an anxiety attack there, so I was a little worried. Me realizing that I might mess this cut up was so great in my mind and my body that it started to just shut down. So combining these 2 things, the stutters and me being unbelievably aware of the stutters and the flubs, I just get my head stuck in this loop of never being good enough, panicking that no one will want to talk to me, or worried that I am just a shell of a human that I used to be. And there is not a single day that goes by now where I wonder what it would be like if I didn't have to deal with it. To be very clear with all of you, this is not some sort of cry for help or any sort of depressive episode. I am very happy with where I am in my life. And it's because I'm happy with where I am that I actually want to work through this. I have the most amazing supportive wife on the planet. She has had to deal with me going through these schizophrenic episodes. She's had to deal with me forgetting things basically the entire time we've been married. And I love her more now than the day I met her. And I know she feels the same way. I have a 9-to-5 that I love to go to more than I don't, which is kind of a blessing in today's world. I also get to stream in front of an audience of people that want to show up because they keep coming back. That is unbelievably cool. But even with all of those positives, it doesn't mean that this challenge that I face gets any easier. In fact, it makes it kind of harder. I'm sorry if this video is a bit of a weird one for you, and I agree that some people should keep some personal stuff to themselves in their life. But like I mentioned at the very start of the video, for me, it helps me heal and process things if I can talk about it. I find healing in being open and vulnerable. I also hope it gives me a resource that I can point to in the future if people are confused on why I stutter so much. But I also don't want it to be an excuse. I want to work through this. I want to overcome the challenge and become who I was in the past. I guess all I ask for is some patience as I kind of work through things in my life, and it probably bleeds over into my content. Like this, for example. I know this video is very different than a normal video I would have made, but if you guys liked it, make sure you like the video, I guess. And if you guys want to see more, maybe comment down below. I really do find healing in this stuff, and as sad as it is to sit on the outside of those walls right now, it's kind of also comforting knowing that there was great moments to look back on. I just need to find them again. Thanks for watching.